Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. By now, you have probably heard of that amazing story out of Missouri where that girl was in a very serious car accident. But at a very critical moment, when her vital signs were declining, a Catholic priest showed up and blessed her with holy oil, whereupon the neighboring fire department came with the jaws of life and extricated her and safely got her to a nearby hospital. And I guess she is doing all right at the moment, although she has a lot of broken bones. The amazing part of the story is that those who attended her at this time believe that the priest was actually a guardian angel, because after the accident, when they tried to thank him, he was nowhere to be found, even though the highway was completely blocked off. The amazing thing is that the girl herself had asked the first responders who were trying to extricate her from this terrible car crash to pray. And it was at that moment that the priest arrived. He anointed her with holy oil, told her and the group to remain calm, and that the tools would now work. At that moment, a neighboring fire department came with the jaws of life and succeeded to remove the girl and get her to a hospital. Now, whenever I see an amazing story like this, it immediately strikes me, is this prophetic? For example, we know that one of the three groups who will be preserved from the Antichrist are the remnant Catholics. The Catholic priest would seem to indicate that this is about Catholicism. The name of the girl saved was Katie Lenz. Now, does Katie Lenz symbolize Catholics? Now, you might say that's a bit of a stretch, but certainly Katie Lenz does not sound like Baptist or Methodist or Episcopal or Lutheran. If Katie Lenz stands for any religious denominations, it would be the Catholics. Or how about the driver of the car that struck Katie Lenz? Now, would he represent the Antichrist? Well, it's interesting that his name is Aaron Smith. Both the Antichrist and Aaron Smith begin with the letter A. Again, a bit of a stretch, but then again, there's only a 1 in 26 chance that that would occur. But the real clincher is that the Catholic priest used holy oil to anoint the girl. Now, this is a reference to Daniel chapters 10 and 12, which tell about the false prophet who afflicts the Catholics, but who is not anointed. Now, I have done a whole series on the abomination of desolation as found in Daniel. And I would like to review this one more time because I think this accident is pointing to where Daniel warns the Catholics about the false prophet. Chapters 10 and chapter 12 of Daniel are actually the same chapter. And the verses in chapter 10 explain the verses in chapter 12 when the two chapters are arranged in a chiasm. In other words, verse number 3 of chapter 10 lines up with verse number 11 of chapter 12. And in chapter 12, Daniel talks about the continual sacrifice being taken away, the abomination of desolation set up, and the length of time of 1290 days. And this is explained in chapter 10, verse number 3. The continual sacrifice is desirable bread and flesh and wine. In other words, the Holy Eucharist. And it is taken away by the false prophet. And Daniel says, neither was I anointed with ointment. In other words, the false prophet is not anointed with holy oil. And that is the reference to this accident in Missouri. The priest represents a good pope, not the false prophet. And this length of time of 3 weeks that Daniel speaks about is actually the length of time of the Great Tribulation. It corresponds with the 1290 days, as mentioned in verse number 11 of chapter 12. But is this incident telling us that the true Pope, Petrus Romanus, will be in the Spirit as, by the way, Maria Divine Mercy suggests. And that would mean that neither Pope Francis nor Pope Benedict are the end times Pope of St. Malachi's prophecies. Now, I'm not saying Pope Francis is not a true Pope, because he could be. The false prophet must perform several specific duties to fulfill his role. And so far, Pope Francis has not done any of those things. So I am not saying one way or another about Pope Francis. Now, in conclusion, this story is continuing to make headlines, and who knows, maybe they will find the priest. So far, they have examined all the photographs taken at the scene, and there is no priest in any of them. I suspect that this is a divine intervention and a divine prophecy. And I am currently offering a free bumper sticker if you would like to help promote my YouTube ministry. Simply send a self-addressed stamped envelope to the address you see on your screen.